Happy Monday. It is Rumor Reminder Day, reminding you to look beyond the rumor because one hot rumor is now cold, but all of the implications of it still remain today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is June 9th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since 2011 or 2012, somewhere in that vicinity. You can, of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the rumor mill continues to turn. The Magic are still relatively quiet, but what it all means, why it means the Magic have the opportunity to be active, and what the Magic will do, we're going to get to that coming up today on Locked On Magic. Plus, a new All-Star format could benefit the Magic, and what the Magic can learn from Game 2 of the NBA Finals. We're going to get to all that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's right when we upload, whether it's first thing in the morning, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can find a great Locked On podcast, including our friends Locked On Pacers and Locked On Thunder. Tony East and Rylan Stiles do an amazing job covering their team. If you want the best of the NBA Finals, go listen to them after you're done listening to me. They'll be a lot more insightful on the series than I will be. Check them out today. All part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. We are hurtling ever closer to the offseason, to the real work of the offseason. Like, look, Jeff Weltman and his staff, they're doing work. As I always say, just because you don't hear anything doesn't mean nothing's happening. The Magic have had players come in to work out. They don't tell us who they are. They don't tell us what's happening, but they have done that. They're probably going out to meet some of these players with the way the draft goes now. A lot, even where the Magic are drafting, a lot of that stuff happens outside of the facility now. The agents control a lot of that process. The Magic are doing their work. And obviously, we will find out a lot of what that work is in 3 weeks at the NBA draft. Almost 2 weeks now. We will find out June 25th, what the Magic ultimately do. Because like I've said a million times here, draft night is the night. Something is going to happen on draft night. Even if it's just the Magic using their picks. That's going to tell us a lot about the direction the Magic are going to go. In the meantime, because the Magic don't like to fill the void with things, there is a lot that gets filled into the void. And so I want to tell a story and make sure we get this point down. And tell what this story is really about, because it's not about the deal everybody was talking about. It started a few weeks ago. We addressed it on this pod. Chris Fetter of Cleveland.com talked about trade ideas for the Cleveland Cavaliers and pitched a Darius Garland for Jalen Suggs trade. That obviously was a headline thing. It was like, would the Magic trade Jalen Suggs for Darius Garland? Would Darius Garland help? Yes, he would. We would go into all of these. We went into this exercise, and it really was just an exercise. See, okay, what is Jalen Suggs worth on the trade market? Is this the kind of deal the Magic would pitch? Could the Magic go get Darius Garland without using Jalen Suggs? And it became something that overtook a lot, at least the Magic fans that I've talked to, like looking at message boards, just kind of getting a sense of what Magic fans want, even looking at comments to my stuff. This idea took really firm root. Now, I'm pretty sure I sat here and said, look, Darius Garland would obviously help. He might be better than Jalen Suggs, but I don't think the Magic are interested in trading Jalen Suggs. Now, I think it is important for the Magic to go through the exercise and say, okay, what would we trade Jalen Suggs for? Is that something on the table? Now, I think that price and that cost is very, very high. The Magic only saw Jalen Suggs for 35 games last year, played with Paolo and Franz for just 6 games, 97 minutes. They were largely successful when they were together. We didn't get to see that fully develop. That doesn't mean the Magic are going to sit here and say, oh, we're fine, we don't need anything else. Obviously, they are working on stuff. But I think the Magic can get a high-quality player like an Anthony Simons, like a Colin Sexton, without giving up Jalen Suggs. And I think right now the Magic would prefer to see, okay, let's add to our group and keep Jalen Suggs in the process. Why give something up that we don't need to give up? We're not that desperate. But this rumor, wound its course. Everybody had their discussions. I am sure even if the Magic weren't serious about it, they game planned this out. They did that thought exercise, and those thought exercises are really important. The fire got put out this weekend. Brian Windhorst went on a Cleveland Cavaliers podcast on ESPN for ESPN Cleveland and said, look, that's a bad deal. The Magic would have to add a lot more. Suggs for Garland doesn't make any sense. And then Jake Fischer on the Steinline newsletter, on the Steinline Substack, went ahead and said the Cavaliers and Magic had no substantive talks about this. Cleveland doesn't want to make the Magic better. The Magic are seen as a threat. But the idea was kind of floated out there, and it's one of the things the Magic can do. And this is the point. And this is the point that I want to make right now. Just because the star trade isn't there, or this star trade isn't there, it's very clear that, yes, the Magic have the assets to put together and go after a player like Darius Garland. There is a reason that Magic fans have talked about Trae Young, about LaMelo Ball. Even to some extent, based on salary, Anthony Simons fits that category. The Magic have the ability to amass the salaries to go after a $28 million a year player, a nearly $30 million a year player. Now, we've talked about this all offseason. Is it smart to align your books that way? Is it smart to add, Trae Young makes $37, $38 million a year. Is it smart to do that without giving up Jalen Suggs, who's at 33 this year? Is that the right way to construct and balance your budget sheet, your payroll sheet? The answer to that question is probably no. My bet would be to say no to that. But this is a lot of the thought experiment that has to go on right now. This is a lot of the questions you have to ask. Is this the right move? Now, it's important to remember this too. The Magic have multiple avenues to get better. Like I said, they don't have to trade Jalen Suggs. They could keep Jalen Suggs. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's at 22.5, 23 million. Cole Anthony is at 13, 14 million. Wendell Carter's at 10. Jonathan Isaac's 15 next year, 25 before the draft, or before the calendar year flips over. The Magic have the ability, and this is something that Jake Fischer noted in the newsletter, the Magic have the ability to make trades in multiple ways. Not only that, they still have the flexibility to get under the tax and spend the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. The Nickeil Alexander-Walker thing, that idea, it feels like it has legs. Now, if the Magic decline team options for Gary Harris, Mo Wagner, Caleb Houston, and Corey Joseph, then we know they're going to spend the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. Now, that comes with its own restrictions. It means that the Magic would be hard capped at the first apron. That does make things very complicated. So, by my math, the Magic, if they decline all their team options, are $12 million, or roughly $12 million below the luxury tax line. If you sign Nickeil Alexander-Walker for interest, for example, to the full MLE, that puts you $2 million over the tax. The difference between the tax line and the first apron line is $8 million. That means you only have $6 million left to re-sign Mo Wagner. If I'm Mo Wagner, I'm not super happy about that. If I'm Mo Wagner, I might trade salary for long-term future. I might say, like, okay, I was going to get paid 11, pay me 9, ascending for 3 years. Go ahead, and you can even put a team option on that last year. I don't like doing that because Mo is super important. I'd rather keep Mo personally, but I get the cap mechanic of it. The Magic, I think, are going to be active. Like, do not get me wrong. This is not me advocating saying, like, oh, the Magic are going to be careful. Magic are cautious. No. the Magic are going to do something. They are, by all accounts and all reporting, aggressively surveying the guard market. They are expected to be players in a big trade this summer. But they're also going to be careful. They're not just doing things to do things. And so again, right now, the rumor mill is churning. The Magic are getting mentioned. We're hearing things about the Magic in the early offseason rumor mill. Jake Fischer even reported the Magic considered adding an offensive-focused assistant coach. He mentioned specifically the Magic thought about going after Jay Triano before he took another job somewhere. Jay Triano would have been excellent. Former head coach of the Raptors, former coach of the Canadian national team. I think he's still the coach of the Canadian national team, actually. The Magic are exploring a lot of things. They still have 3 weeks to put it into action. And as always, let's close this way. Judge the Magic not by the rumors they're not included in or the rumors that end up not being true. Judge them by what they actually do. And we'll find out what they actually do in the next 3 to 4 weeks. At the end of the day, everything for the Magic is focused on their stars, Paolo, Banchero, and Franz Wagner. Why a new all-star format could push them to the front. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a minute. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When you start using Monarch, you realize just how much you're spending on food delivery so you can budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. So we're in this really reflective point in the NBA season. Adam Silver usually does, the commissioner usually does his pre-finals press conference and just addresses a lot of issues around the league. This is the two times when we get big global issue discussions with Adam Silver are All-Star Weekend. He does a big press conference at All-Star Weekend and the NBA and ahead of the NBA Finals. And we got a lot of interesting information about the competitive balance that the league is seeing. I don't think he really addressed the apron issues and things that are worrying people there. We got a lot of discussion about expansion. He said expansion is still a few years away. It is not even something they're guaranteed to do. I think they are. But we also got some discussion about the All-Star game. And look, you can go back and listen to my All-Star pod. I don't care about the All-Star game. I don't need it to be competitive. I don't need it to be a classic thing. I think people are more nostalgic for the All-Star game than it actually deserves. A lot of the times it sucks. Now, I won't sit here and say that the effort's been better now than it used to be. Some of it was back in the day, back in the 90s. The All-Star game was actually really important. There was no league pass. This was a chance for players to get marketed, to put themselves in front of a big stage, to say hey, I am the best of the best. My peers consider me the best of the best. They're giving me the ball a lot. There was a lot more in the All-Star game before we kind of hit this oversaturated world. So I'm not the only thing I care about from the All-Star game perspective is that it is used as a historical marker. To say you're a 4-time All-Star, a 6-time, a starter, to me, the honorific is more important than the actual game itself. And again, some of that is I'm a junkie. I watch basketball every day. Honestly, taking the weekend off and not having to think too hard about basketball. I went to a concert over All-Star Weekend this year. It was great. Um, it's meant to be a break for the players. And the players, I think, take it more as a break than maybe they did in the 90s. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, I don't care about the game. I care about the honorific because it does have historical bearing. And I think the only thing I would complain about this year's All-Star game was that the G League team should not have been invited. They should have just named an extra team of All-Stars. Again, because the honorific is important. And even if we have to, and they should be expanding the pool anyway, it should be a 15-man roster, which I think would guard against some of the boredom problems that players have. It's people are putting too much into a game that doesn't mean anything. Having said that, we are hurtling toward a new All-Star format. It's not clear what this will look like, but Adam Silver said the plan and the discussion that he's had with the Players Association is to do some type of international flavor in the tournament. Now, whether that means we do, like, I kind of tried to game this out a little bit. Maybe you're doing US and Canada East Coast, US and Canada West Coast, Europe and Africa, Asia as a team, and that's kind of your regional flavors for your tournament, like they did last year. Maybe that's something they're exploring. Maybe there's another idea. The idea that they're going for is they're trying to copy a little bit of what the NHL did with their Four Nations Cup. But again, I would say this: the difference between hockey and basketball. In hockey, hockey is more like soccer than it is like basketball. Playing for your national team is very serious stuff. Because the NBA treats Team USA like an all-star team, outside of European players, which take it very, very seriously, like Franz, like the fact that Franz Wagner hemmed and hawed over playing for didn't like fully commit to Eurobasket during exit interviews. That was like whoa, that's something. That's news. I would not mind if Franz Wagner took the summer off, but Eurobasket's super important. Like playing for a national team, super important. I'm never gonna blame a guy for wanting to play for his national team. Absolutely go play for your national team. I love that Paolo Banchero is part of Team USA. I love that Franz Wagner uses the German national team as a test for stardom. But there's going to be something new about this year's All-Star game. Not only the fact that it's going to be on NBC, not only the fact that it's going to be in the afternoon so NBC can go back to its 2026 Winter Olympics coverage. It's going to be different. But if there's an international flavor, if it is going to be kind of split between US and the world, this actually makes it easy for the Magic to receive the honorific. Never mind that Paolo Banchero finished fourth in All-Star voting last year, just after just playing 5 games. There is, with Jason Tatum out, there is a real chance Paolo Banchero is starting in the All-Star game next year. I'm not joking. If Paolo has the season that he had last year, and the Magic are in the contention that we think they're going to be for 3-4 seed, Paolo Banchero could start in the All-Star game next year. Jason Tatum's off the board. Giannis might be in the Western Conference. That's 2 spots that open up for Paolo Banchero to take. So already the Magic are in a better All-Star position now than they were last year. But if we're splitting things up into US and Europe, that opens the door wide open for Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner last year, just on basic statistics. The NBA last year had only 4 European-born All-Stars in the 2025 All-Star game. That's Giannis, Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama, and Alperen Şengün. Luka Doncic was injured. There's 5. Franz Wagner would have been 6th, I think. Franz Wagner would have been 6th. In fact, among all European-born players, Wagner was like 5th in scoring. Let me double check my stat there. Sorry. Yeah, Wagner was 5th in scoring among European-born players. Like, that's behind Jokic, Giannis, Luka, and I think Şengün edged about too. So to say the least, if the NBA is going for this international flavor idea, Franz Wagner, if he has anything close to the season he had last year, is going to be an all-star. So let's put that away till February. Let's put that away till January. We'll get the new format when they announce it, when they agree to it. But a new all-star format is going to continue pushing the Magic to the front. Again, I'll say this a million times. This isn't some lock. All-star berths are always earned. Franz would have gotten in if he hadn't gotten injured, the coaches would have voted him in. Coaches love the kid. All all-star berths are earned, and you got to go out and play. And look, we don't know how the next season's going to pan out and play out. We don't know what injuries are going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. But if you're looking at it on paper, Paolo Banchero has an inside track to be an all-star again. It's certainly a potential to be a starter, the Magic's first starter since Dwight Howard. And Franz Wagner also has, if the NBA is going in this international direction, Franz Wagner has a very, very, very good chance to be an all-star as well, because he is among the best European-born players in the league. Stars are super important. That's what we're learning in the NBA Finals, but we're also learning the power of variance. How players stepping up is why the Thunder and Pacers are in the finals and winning in the finals. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. NBA fans, you know what time it is. The NBA Finals means big performances and even bigger rewards. DoorDash is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA playoffs. It's called the Swoosh You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more. Use the code WINGSTOP50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. Who could say no to chicken tenders? Seriously. Offer valid noon to midnight the day after the game. Terms apply. No matter what you're looking for, your go-to move after an epic win is almost always food. So if you're ordering wings to relive the highlights or ordering a hamburger to celebrate that victory with a nice, juicy burger, imagine being rewarded with free food just because someone went off for 50. Ever looked at your delivery fees and thought that there's got to be a better way? With Dash Pass, you get $0 delivery fees and exclusive perks like this one. How much would you save over a season? So here's the play. Sign up for Dash Pass to unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. When any player scores 50 or more in a playoff game, Dash Pass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the next day with a $20 or more order and code WINGSTOP50. That's Dash Pass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply. So game 2 of the NBA Finals went about the way we've expected this series to go. The Oklahoma City Thunder pulled away, kept the lead this time, and won 123-107 over the Indiana Pacers in a game that felt and looked more like what we expected. The Thunder were as crazy and swarming defensively as they always have been. That's their MO, obviously, and they were like that in game 1. They just couldn't convert off of the mistakes that Indiana made. In this game, while Indiana didn't turn the ball over as much, 14 points off 15 turnovers, Oklahoma City had only 4 fast break points. So the Thunder just executed a lot better in this game. Shea was Shea, 34 points. There's a major focus on getting Jalen Williams going. He had 19 points, only 5 for 14 shooting, though, got to the line for 9 free throws. And especially getting Chet Holmgren going, 15 points. That eventually got the Thunder kind of in rhythm and in the motion that they wanted to go. Look, Indiana had a bad shooting night. A lot of threes, 14 for 40 from 3. They shot just 45.1% from the floor. They ended up shooting 23 for 42 on 2-point field goals. So some good, some bad there. A lot of fouling. Shea had 12 free throw attempts. Oklahoma City went 29 for 33. They also made 14 threes. So a lot of things that we look at with the Magic, like Indiana didn't have the same advantages. Indiana made a ton more threes. In game one, they got a lot more help. The lesson, though, from game two is about consistency. And it's not even just about consistency. It's about the ability to play up. And this is an element that I think the Magic are at times missing. Like, look, I don't worry about the Magic having a game. And look, Indiana's a different team. They're a lot more kind of egalitarian offense. Tyrese Halliburton scoring only 17 points on 7 for 13 shooting. Pascal Siakam scoring 15 points on 3 for 11 shooting. That's not going to get the job done for Indiana. Tyrese Halliburton having 5 turnovers, probably the biggest impact stat of the game. Because Halliburton's so good at not turning the ball over and valuing his possessions. When he has a big turnover game, and he's had some big turnover games against the Magic, that's when Indiana really kind of hits a wall and struggles. So again, I don't think Indiana's panicking over anything in this game. I think we have a series. I think Oklahoma City's still heavy favorites, and Indiana has to do the work to catch up to them. Like I said when I previewed the series last week, when you're in a series, there's the team in control and there's a team that's chasing. Indiana is the team that's chasing, and Indiana is the one that has to do things better to win. Now, Oklahoma City can have a bad game. They had a bad game in game one and still have a chance to win. They're up 15 with 8 minutes to go. Oklahoma City doesn't have to do as much right. Indiana has to do so much more right. So I want to just stress that Oklahoma City is, I think, objectively the better team. It's just, are they going to execute well enough? And that's a fair question because while Shea is brilliant every night, Chet is up and down. Jalen Williams has had a very up and down playoff. Some nights he's absolutely brilliant. And some nights he is some nights he really struggles. And he really struggled in game one, had some bad moments in game two, but found a way to keep contributing. I'll say this when it comes to the Magic. We know that Paolo and Franz are going to deliver. If anything, the issue with Paolo and Franz right now is not expecting them to deliver. It's whether they trust their teammates enough to bring them along. Because I think through the first 2 games of the series, what we've seen is the power of bench variance. And this is a point that I made, that the reason why the Thunder and the Pacers are here in the finals is they get big contributions from their bench. They get sometimes unexpected contributions from their bench. In game one, it was Obi Toppin making 4 or 5 3-pointers. They have guys who star in their roles. But sometimes they don't just star in their roles, they do more. Obi Toppin making 4 or 5 threes, that's unexpected. That's what got Indiana the win. In game two, Alex Caruso had 20 off the bench, made 4 of 8 3-pointers. Aaron Wiggins had 18 points on 5 for 8 shooting from 3. Alex Caruso and Aaron Wiggins off the bench accounted for 9 of Oklahoma City's 14 threes. And as part of that, 20-2 run in the first and second quarter, Caruso and Wiggins were a huge part of that avalanche that gave the Thunder some breathing room and frankly, essentially put the game away. Didn't let Indiana get back up after that one. And while Caruso is a solid player every night, Wiggins isn't in there all the time, doesn't always play a ton. Only 8 players played 20 or more minutes, and Wiggins just cleared it at 20-32. The difference is the variability. The ability to have a guy who steps up in his role. And this is something that I've been really intent on throughout the course of this offseason. The Magic have a lot of guys who are good in their roles. The picture looks great when every piece is in place. But need Mo Wagner to start at center? That's not going to work. Defense doesn't look great. Cole Anthony, yeah, he can be a big scorer, put the ball in his hands, super inconsistent. Who knows if that's the right role for him? But other than those players, everyone on the Magic's good at one thing. And what I think you see in the finals teams and the teams that go deep, they have players who can do multiple things, who can play multiple roles, who can slide in and out of roles based on how hot they are, where the roster's at. This is what the Magic need. Like, the reason why I think Anthony Simons, Colin Sexton, Austin Reeves, Kobe White, those guys are so attractive to Orlando is they've all shown that they can take over games and lead the team in scoring. They've all shown, even with playing with other stars and other top players, that they'll have moments where it's just like, no, it's your night. You do it. You do you, man. But when they don't have it, they're fine being role players. They're fine spreading the floor. They're fine being the anchor, leading the guys off the bench. To have 3 players, and Jalen Suggs may be in that too, so to have 4 of those kinds of players, you can always have 2 on the floor and always have guys who could step up and down roles as the roster and as the lineups demand. That's what the Pacers have. They can put TJ McConnell in. They can put Ben Mathurin, and although he's been up and down, 14 points was pretty good last night. They have Andrew Nembhard, who sets up and makes and takes a bunch of big shots. They have guys who can, if Tyrese Halliburton has to miss a game, Nembhard fills right in. Maybe the team's not as good, not going to be as consistent, but they'll be competitive. For the Magic, the whole picture sometimes falls apart when they lose Paolo or Franz. When, Suggs exited the game. The Magic have to fit together perfectly, and they need more lineup variability. They need the ability to throw out lineups that can still function and work without the weight on their 2 stars. And again, I think that's what this offseason is about for Orlando. It's finding that extra guy that can attack offensively. Obviously, the goal this offseason, improve the offense. The defense is going to be there. They may not be second in the league in defensive rating next year. But if you drop down to 5, but your offense climbs to 15, you're a 50-win team. You're a 4 seed. You're a 3 seed. You're a 2 seed maybe. And so it's finding a way to improve. The biggest way to improve that offense is to get better offensive weapons that fit together and can do more together. That's going to be so key to this offseason. And that's, I think, what we're seeing in this NBA Finals and seeing from these Finals teams is how important it is in these big games to have guys who are confident and can step up when the ball swings to them one way or another. The Thunder, I thought, played an excellent game. They let off the gas a little bit in the second half, but never enough to let Indiana back in the game. I thought the Thunder played a really good game. Indiana kind of didn't have it, and I think Rick Carlisle understood that early and pulled the plug early in the fourth quarter. But I think it's very clear Indiana is not going to get pushed around. It's not going to get pushed over. Oklahoma City is still dictating terms, but Indiana is fine climbing uphill. And that's going to make for a fascinating series as they head to Indianapolis later this week. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You can find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of them is still podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, including what I'm hoping to post later today, my first crack at a mock draft, you can find that over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to Locked On Magic, go make the Locked On NBA Big Board Show your second listen of the day. NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We will actually have Rafael on the show tomorrow to talk Orlando Magic draft unless something crazy happens that forces me to push publishing that episode. So we're going to talk to Rafael. We're going to get the lowdown on this draft class on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. So be sure to subscribe and be ready for that episode tomorrow. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic. This has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Magic.